The world is looking for an alternative currency.
The world needs new models of trust.
It's the first invention for 500 years.
Slash.org.
That's where I first met Satoshi. Using hash function, open consensus mechanism, elliptical curve signatures, solving the double spending problem.
涨到你怀疑的时候。
One of the youngest Bitcoin millionaires.
I got arrested in New York.
So everyone was saying, oh, this Bitcoin is a fraud.
You should be able to afford to lose.
I heard you have a nickname, Bitcoin Jesus.
I didn't choose that name for myself.
How are you?
Enjoy the morning.
Do you know them?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a small island, so everywhere you go, you see people you know for sure.
You look like a people person.
About Bitcoin, the ICO, internet money. So we'll tell you all about it. People started calling me that because I was just so passionate about telling anybody I could get to listen to about Bitcoin anywhere I went, whether it was a taxi or a coffee shop or a clerk at a cafe. When I was telling them about it, I was helping them set up wallets, I was giving them some Bitcoin. I gave away more Bitcoins than I can count to more people all over the world. Basically, believe it or not, I had a hard time oftentimes even getting people to be willing to accept that whole Bitcoin.
Why? Oh, thank you. Is Alex coming?
I think Alex is going to drive his
car. Oh, okay.
这是 Roger Ver， 出生于美国硅谷，竞选过加州议员，因贩卖烟花进过监狱。
I'm sorry, what was your name again, though, too, Nick.
Driver for the day. Welcome to Sinkits, Sugar City Sinkits.
但很多人提到他，首先想到的还是那个满大街向陌生人送比特币、宣传比特币的疯子。甚至为了比特币，他还放弃了美国国籍。
The first several years, I was the only investor in the Bitcoin space. BitPay, Kraken, Purse.io, Bitcoin.com. Of course, there's a whole bunch of them out there.
而当我在加勒比海的小岛上和他见面时，这个人们口中的比特币耶稣却已经改变了信仰。
Bitcoin is money. That pitch was true about Bitcoin in 2011, 2012, 2013, all the way up until maybe about a year ago. But at this point, it's not Bitcoin anymore.
我是一加，2011年6月第一次听说比特币。从那以后，我遇到很多人，他们对于比特币从怀疑到相信，从惊讶到惊喜，从接受到为之疯狂。但还有一些人，随着比特币的成长，开始质疑它、挑战它，甚至抛弃它。一场围绕比特币的信仰之战就此拉开了帷幕。好，到底比特币有什么问题？比特币是意义深远，还是将昙花一现？
This space is full of drama, no shortage of it.
So you'll need your phone. So you're going to open the Apple App Store. Now it's asking for your email, but that's optional as well, so you can hit skip again. And then I've been promoting Bitcoin every single day because it makes every single human being on the planet better off. Sell your dollars for pounds. If you have dollars, you want to.
So what did you do?
My first step was to buy a bunch of Bitcoins, and the next step was to start building businesses that make Bitcoin useful for people all over the world and easy for them to use all over the world as money. One of the biggest things that I think I did was setting up BitcoinStore.com. Back in 2012, we listed hundreds of thousands of consumer electronics items for sale for Bitcoin only.
比特币的发明者中本聪在白皮书中写道：“比特币是点对点的电子现金。” 他曾说，比特币将成为一种全球通用的支付方式。在纽约，接受比特币的商家并不多。我找了很久，发现了这家位于布鲁克林的拉美餐厅。他们从2014年开始接受比特币。
Here's your ticket. Yep, the Bitcoin address is in there, as well as the receipt. It used to be very good for restaurants. When Bitcoin was a lot cheaper, it would be cheaper to process Bitcoin payments than credit card payments, because credit card payments charge around 4% per transaction.
Do you got a lot of customer like using Bitcoin, this and that?
Just one customer in the past 4 years. And the one payment we got from a customer is right here.
Wow.
They paid for $21, and I think this would be worth $1,000 if we never,
Oh my God.
we never cashed it in.
Then it was 2015.
Yes.
为了购买这一块提拉米苏，我提前准备好了比特币的钱包。
It doesn't work. So I have to log into my whatever account.
而这一块标价只有4美元的蛋糕，需要我支付的手续费有20多美金。
Why do you think it's getting so expensive to process it?
The price went up really high. So the normal fee that used to be like a penny before is now $20.
I see.
They are now slow, expensive to use, and unreliable.
关于比特币扩容升级的讨论从2011年就开始了，而随着比特币使用和交易人群的不断扩大，缓慢的处理速度和高昂的手续费成为近年很多人对比特币支付的最大槽点。
我在巴黎的时候去咖啡店，曾经花了2.5欧元去买了一杯咖啡，但是为了做这个 transaction 呢，花了5欧元的 transaction fee。
Transaction costs are too high. The velocity is too low to be a good medium of exchange.
And we've seen a bunch of companies in the last couple of months who used to accept Bitcoin as payment completely stop. Like Dell Computer, for example.
We all want Bitcoin to scale. We want these systems to scale and accommodate for lots of transactions.
在比特币持续运转了近10年的网络背后，有一群开发者们，他们肩负着不断优化比特币系统的使命。在中本聪隐退之后，更掌握了比特币的代码合并权。Jeff Garzik 是第3个比特币的核心开发者。比特币是不是从设计之初就留下了什么问题呢？我希望 Jeff 能给我一些答案。
Tell us a little bit more about how the transaction is going to be done on Bitcoin network.
Sure. So it's very much an IT data replication type issue. Is if I'm going to send a transaction to the Bitcoin network, what does that mean? The double spend problem that we try to solve with Bitcoin. So my transaction goes to these computers. These computers verify, is he spending money? Is he spending money twice? We don't want that, just once. And then it goes to another set of computers called miners.
Oh my God, it's huge.
Yes.
260,000.
This used to be one of the largest wood frame structured buildings in the world at one point. Watch your hat. I manage a large-scale Bitcoin and altcoin mining farm. Over 13,000 servers. Here we are the largest in North America, as far as I'm aware.
I bought some machines from a company in Sweden. I bought some servers from a company in San Francisco. I also bought some machines from a very reputable company in Beijing called Avalon. So what started off as a couple of servers from Sweden and San Francisco quickly turned into what many people told me was the largest Bitcoin mining operation in the United States.
machines, at their core, are just giant calculators. Their main function is to confirm transactions on the network. Just like with Visa, when you slide your card at a store, there's a computer that validates that transaction. The miners basically do that same thing 24/7 without stopping. So what we're doing is just helping to keep that network running.
正如我看到的，挖矿需要硬件的前期投入和持续不断的能源消耗。虽然上没有向我们透露具体的数据，但 Hyperblock 在蒙大拿的矿场里隆隆的巨响和阵阵的热浪告诉我，这里的电力消耗是非常惊人的。整个比特币网络的运转需要大量资源来支持。在了解这方面信息的过程中，我发现了关注比特币耗能问题的博客 Digiconomist。
The whole network consumes about, well, maybe 2 gigawatts of electricity. So, that would put them close to a country like Ireland. But, at the same time, the whole network, it only processes maybe 3 to 4 transactions per second. The average electricity consumption per transaction is around 600 kilowatt hours. I mean, that's a huge number. Your average household will last for a few months on that, depending on what country you live in. So it's actually consuming quite a big amount of electricity versus what it's actually doing.
POW algorithm is very energy intensive, but economically this is a sunk cost. This is a resource that you pay to secure the blockchain. And so there's a very valid economic reason why POW is the most secure consensus mechanism.
工作量证明机制是确保比特币网络安全的根本，而为了激励矿工持续贡献算力，网络规定矿工将获得伴随区块产生的比特币和交易费2部分奖励。当限定的2100万枚比特币全部产生了之后，用户支付的手续费将成为矿工的主要回馈。
Who is determining the transaction fee?
Each user, it's called a bidding market or an auction, is that if I want a transaction to go into the blockchain very fast, I'm going to bid a high price or pay a high fee. 2 hours or 6 hours or a day for my transaction to be recorded in this ledger, recorded in this blockchain, I'll pay a low fee. And so we have people bidding higher and higher, lower and lower.
10分钟是整个比特币网络心跳的频率，平均每10分钟系统会产生1个区块。目前每个区块的容量是1兆。我们来做个运算，如果记录一项交易所占的容量为250个字节，理论上比特币网络每秒最多只能处理7笔交易。在现有金融体系中，它的竞争对手们维萨平均每秒处理1667笔交易， PayPal 平均每秒处理193笔交易。
450,000 transactions per day. If you have a social network with a total addressable market of 3 billion internet-connected adults around the world, 1.5 billion of whom don't have a bank account, and you can only support 450,000 transactions a day, 450,000 transactions doesn't even come close to scratching the surface.
根据 Blockchain.info 的数据，比特币网络在2017年年底出现过上10万笔未处理交易堆积堵塞的情况。根据 TreeBlock 的数据，未处理的交易金额高达上10万个比特币，大约需要36兆的容量来记录。网络拥堵的同时，交易手续费上涨了，最高达到约50美金。
Originally, there was no block size limit. But that was a problem in that you can, when Bitcoin was worth a penny, you could spend very little money and spam the blockchain and spam all these hundreds of thousands of computers with too much data. And so in the early days, that was a bad thing. That would have killed Bitcoin in its infancy. So he put a pipe size limit, a speed limit in Bitcoin so that it would survive the early days. And so about a year and a half after Bitcoin was born, he put in that speed limit to protect Bitcoin. but it was always the intention to raise that speed limit. That was actually the plan. He posted in an online forum, when we reach a future date, increase the speed limit.
He said that.
He said that very explicitly. That was the plan of record.
Since when did you realize the problem of scalability?
It was late 2014, early 2015 when we started to test that limit. We actually had enough transactions that it was filling up, so to speak.
从2015年开始 ，Jeff 和其他的开发者们就不断提出比特币的升级方案，期待解决比特币网络拥堵的问题。然而，却几乎没有哪一个方案能获得社区的共识。
The first step was taken by Satoshi's number 2, Gavin Andreessen. When Satoshi left, he essentially turned the keys to the kingdom over to Gavin. And Gavin recognized, as I did, the scalability issue late 2014, early 2015. So he left his day job and day-to-day tasks to focus solely on increasing this block size, scaling Bitcoin. But there are others in the community that disagree.
比特币的设计就保证了这个权力的足够分散，或者说用利益的绑定的方式是让矿工不会去作恶，所以你可以去仔细的去看一下它整个的一个设计，就真正是把博弈论做到了极致了。它等于是三权分立，代码的权利是给 core dev 核心开发者的，改代码是程序员，批准这个代码能够用是矿工，还有一个基金会是给核心开发者去发工资的。你没有算力，你就没有话语权。你们随便怎么说都可以，你改变不了什么东西。
Scaling debate, I think, has largely arisen out of people misunderstanding the technology. So there's often talk in the media or people complaining about, the network is slow, it's congested.
Yeah.
But it's more like the weather or traffic. So you can't say the roads are always congested. That's just not true.
Last year, very high fees, very clogged. Due to the nature of the anonymous, pseudonymous, we don't know if it's more people last year or if it's just the same number of people creating nuanced transactions.
Are there any possibility the high transaction fee was manipulated?
I don't know if it's true or not true, but there is undeniable evidence that there's been a very large number of extremely low fee transactions that clogged the mempool and artificially ate up space.
I'm sort of the anti-conspiracy theory guy, so I tend to believe very philosophically that everyone ultimately has their own, they're rational economic actors at the end of the day. If you're in a particular business that will not profit when the block size increases, then that's going against your economic motivation to scale.
Read the title there? Are you able to see what the title is?
Peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
Cash. What does that mean to you? Yeah, cash is for paying. I'll quote Satoshi Nakamoto. He said, and I quote, "The ultimate solution is to just allow the blocks to get as big as they need to be." And that's a simple, elegant solution, and we don't have to do anything but just get out of the way and let Bitcoin adoption grow all over the world.
What happened a year ago?
In the last couple of years, a bunch of people use a bunch of literal censorship, lies, and propaganda to try and trick people into thinking that Bitcoin can't scale, and that's what they're doing. So there are people like Adam Back, Greg Maxwell, Eric Lombroso, Luke Jr.
So are they considered the core developer or? these
Well,
kind of.
I don't think Bitcoin should have a core, but they are calling themselves the core developers.
吴总，我是一佳。
嗨，一佳，你好。
吴继涵，半导体设计公司比特大陆的创始人兼 CEO。2013年，他创办的比特大陆几乎垄断了全世界的矿机硬件市场。
好像现在我看到有人写报道说，每10台挖矿机呢，就有1台是来自于比特大陆的。
没有，有10台挖矿机，可能只有1台不是比特大陆的。
哦，对对对。
同时，也掌握了全球最大的多个比特币矿池，统领了广大矿工，算力超过40%。
刚刚我们走过的就是 BTC.com 的这个矿池，现在是在 Bitcoin 里面算力排名全球第1的。在那个角落里面就是这个Antpool 的这个矿池啊，现在是算力排名是全球第2。
那哪块业务算是咱们现在最核心的？
最核心的还是做 blockchain 和这个 cryptocurrency 的 mining machine， 这个应该还是我们最核心的业务。
这就是13年11月推出的那款嘛？
对对对。
And Miner S1 就是第一代。
对。
然后这是14年的是吧？
对，这是一个。
你觉得比特币有让你失望过吗？
比特币它确实是让我失望过。在2015年年底的时候呢，比特币网络开始出现这个堵塞。但实际上，从16年年初到17年年底吧，整个这2年呢，我比较深入的去参与到了 Bitcoin 它应该如何去扩容的这个问题的大的辩论上面。应该来说，和这个社区当中有一部分曾经的社区成员呢，共同的社区成员呢，去产生了很大的这种分歧。我对于这种分歧本身的出现，是感到失望的。同时呢，我对于 Bitcoin 它没有能够去把握住它作为最为领先的去中心化货币的这个地位，然后去扩张自己的这个领地，去迅速的去迭代更新，这一点我还是感到很失望。
为什么有的人他不愿意去做这种大区块的事情？
坚持小区块的人呢，我相信有这么几点理由。第一点呢，他们认为比特币呢不应该做硬分叉，因为要是比特币做了硬分叉，意味着这个共识协议的这个改变，比特币它作为一种电子黄金的存在，就会受到大大的影响。
Anything there's a contradiction in something being a good store of value and a good payment. You have to choose which attribute is more important to you. So if you want to spend money and don't care about accumulating wealth, then and consider that an upgrade. I don't think there's any upgrade beyond the concept of hard money that helps you accumulate wealth.
So you don't think Bitcoin has a scalability problem?
No, it doesn't.
第二个观点呢，是认为比特币的去中心化特性非常重要，他们希望每一个人的电脑都能够运行全节点。那么如果说区块扩大的话，就会导致全节点数量的这个减少，那么比特币去中心化特点呢就会受到极大的这个影响。
Are there any potential risk if we increase the block size too much?
Absolutely. All of those thousands of computers, they can't cross-check, can't cross-validate before the next block comes in.
Eventually, you force people off the network because their computers can't process and they don't have enough storage.
Even now, if you download if you start a Bitcoin node for the first time, you can easily wait a day before you're up to speed.
Does that have something to do with the hardware?
Yes, very, very precisely. If you have faster hardware, you can run that check and balance faster.
It's actually a competition. Most of the representation from the mining ecosystem is the mining pool operators, but they don't actually speak for the miners that mine in their pools.
This is the main concern. The only people that can handle it are like data center operators or these types of big companies. There's a very real risk that you lose the main benefits of Bitcoin. That transactions could be censored, maybe even the protocol rules can be changed. It changes the value proposition of Bitcoin in a way that I think is probably not the right way to go.
在这种 proof of work， 它的 竞争的这种过程当中呢，它的规模效应呢确实是难以避免啊。我们之所以能够聚集很大的这个算力，其实是来自于客户对我们的信任。客户呢，因此他也不愿意把他的算力呢去指向到随随便便的某个矿池。
Industrial mining is a centralizing force, which is destroying the distributed nature of cryptocurrencies. I think that's a very difficult argument to support. And the fact is that there's different dimensions of centralization or decentralization that exist in every system.
它有集中的这个趋势，那么但是呢，整个生态呢，它也有对抗它的这个趋势。当这种集中化的趋势到了一定程度呢，整个社区也会产生很大的这种意见啊。比方说，要是我们的矿池加起来都超过了50%、60%了，那么就会有很多矿工他会要主动的把算力切走。
那会有一种情况，比如说很多算力都在咱这个池里面，那你们是可以控制这个网络的，比如说因为你有更大的话语权吗？
不是的，区块链上面所运行的这些货币也好，资产也好，它的价值呢还是来源于整个这个社群对它的共同的这种认同。那么如果说这种矿池它做出了不利于整个网络这个事情，它会导致这种币价的这种大幅的下跌。一旦这样的事情发生了，那么我们的客户就会立即知道，他们就会把他们算力移到其他的那些好的那些矿池内去。
I understand potentially erasing the block size was
Now, in terms of transaction throughput, I'll just say it, pretty clearly. Blockchains don't scale very well because it is a flood network where all the data is broadcast and you have to save all the data.
If you want to use blockchain to support all the transaction, like to replace credit card, it sounds like it's impossible.
It is impossible just by stuffing everything into a block and putting it in a blockchain. You have to look at layer 2 solutions.
以核心开发者为代表的反对扩大区块一方提出了从优化交易信息处理入手的解决方案。早在2012年，比特币核心开发团队内已经开始讨论把交易的签名数据从交易数据中剥离出来的想法。在2015年6月，大名鼎鼎的隔离见证方案被正式公布。
What is SegWit?
You have a Bitcoin transaction and you have a signature, a digital signature attached that says, I approve this Bitcoin transaction. SegWit segregates that signature away from the transaction that says, I just sent 100 Bitcoin to Bianca. And so therefore, this allows some technical savings because you only need to see that you received some Bitcoin. You don't need to see this digital signature. So it's less data coming in for them. So it's sort of an accounting trick to make computers a little bit more efficient.
Why some people don't like this idea?
Because this feature was written by one company, Blockstream, and they would refuse any other change other than this one change that came from them.
我们相信比特币它如果说主链的区块被限制住，那么就会有多层次的网络被发展出来。那么将来的这些支付的这些 transaction 呢，都在多层次网络上面的话，那么整个 transaction 的手续费的这些收益呢，就会由发展这样的多层次网络的人来进行收取。
Bitcoin Core is two companies, Blockstream and Chaincode Labs, and so these are the ones that are steering it today.
2014年，比特币核心开发者 Adam Back、Gregory Maxwell、Peter Wheeler 等人参与创立了 Blockstream 公司，其中 Peter Wheeler 就是隔离见证的提出者。此后，核心开发者团队与 Blockstream 公司的关系便成为了争议的焦点。
What's the relationship between Blockstream and Bitcoin Core?
The relationship is simply that Blockstream has developers that will contribute to Bitcoin Core. But other than that, there's no real relationship. It's not that the company is hiring people to work on Bitcoin full time. It's that the company is founded by a few developers that have been working on Bitcoin. And part of our mission is to continue contributing to open source projects and advancing the state of the digital currency industry. So it's part of our DNA to support those initiatives.
But I heard Blockstream is a supporter or donator to Bitcoin Core. Is that true?
We're probably one of the first companies to have full-time staff on board contributing to the Bitcoin Core project. So we have about 1.5 people full-time dedicated to working on Bitcoin Core. Right now, we're actually one of the smaller contributors. We also sponsored a core developer too to work on the project. But many companies can hire a developer and sponsor developers to work on it.
But do you think that will be a conflict of interest?
We actually have special contracts for our developers that work on the Bitcoin Core project full-time. So if we ask them to do something that they think is not in the best interest of Bitcoin, they actually have the right to quit, and we'll pay them for a full year. People pay a lot of attention to Blockstream, and you know the saying, like 树大招风, right? So if you're big, then people will start criticizing and start attributing things to you, even if it's not warranted.
知道现在这个中国的这个挖矿的产量的话，占了全球应该是70%以上，最高应该可能达到80%都有可能。
挖矿大国。
那么国外有很多人士可能也就是对中国矿工，包括对中国的矿场主、矿池，这个都有很大的意见，就是没办法理解。实际上还是大家都还是站在自己的利益来说话，你站在自己的角度，包括你手里边持仓位。 你有100个币和你手里有1万个币，你对这事情关心的角度一定是不一样的，以及你在这事情上你投入矿机没有？你如果有1万台矿机放在那里的话，你也会不是那么简单的去任意相信任何一个人的方案。
那所以说，矿场或者矿场主在这个行业当中是挺有话语权
的。他们自己觉得挺有话语权，
但他们其实没有，是吗？其实没有那么大，
没有那么大啊，或者说是从那个比特币的这些开发团队的角度来讲的话呢，其实他们是不太尊重这些矿工矿主的。在越早的前2年的话呢，其实是忽视。这2年的话，大家才慢慢的不得不开始要大家意识到，就是说矿工的这样的一些力量，矿工可以去左右一些事情，比如说有些版本它在升级，矿工我就不升级，使得那个版本根本就推行不下去啊，会有这样的一个情况。那么，所以大家也开始想要去争取中国矿工，所以国外的一些团队跑到中国来游说，啊，好几个团队都来过中国，甚至来了不止一次啊，就是来游说中国团队，游说中国矿工。
为了在扩容上达成共识，前核心开发者 Gavin Anderson 曾尝试和矿工一方达成妥协，先激活隔离见证，然后再将区块容量增加到2兆。他们在香港召开比特币扩容大会，达成香港共识，然而却遭到了核心开发者团队其他一些成员的强烈反对，香港共识破裂。 2017年，为了再次推动隔离见证和扩大区块容量的共识方案，由矿工一方牵头的纽约比特币扩容会议召开。这一次，由于 Blockstream 公司和核心开发者团队的特殊关系，代表 Blockstream 公司的 Samsung 被拦在了会场门外。
The New York agreement was a lot of businesses working with certain mining pools, saying that they want a hard fork. So the developers, they're not going to just sit by.
Why did you against the Segway 2x?
What they wanted to do was just increase the block size from 1 to 2 megabytes. And that makes no logical sense at all. To scale Bitcoin, it's not we need a doubling of capacity or even, quadrupling. That's not what we need. We need thousands of times more capacity for Bitcoin to be usable for everyone in the world.
The smart thing about Segwit, in my mind, is that it increases the block size and it also solves other problems with the protocol, which better enables things like second layer solutions, while not requiring anyone to upgrade if they don't want to, right? If you don't want to use SegWit for whatever reason, then you can keep using the Bitcoin protocol as it was. But the 2x part, that was a hard fork. It doesn't have this backward compatibility. So if you don't upgrade, then you're not on the same network anymore. So in a way, a hard fork really creates a new currency.
在16年提出这个隔离见证的时候，社区都同步去执行隔离见证的话，这拥堵是可以避免的。当时社区已经把这个隔离见证的软件已经写好了，那为什么你非要去阻止它，不激活它？最终是让整个社区付出这个分裂。
谁造成了这个没有激活？
没就是比特大陆造成的，因为我参与了基本上所有的这个我们的比特币的这个扩容会议的讨论，就是反对声音大就是比特大陆。
你有什么证据证明是这样？
证据公开的。
比特大陆作为一个矿机生产商，它天然就具备了这些算力的控制权。Bitcoin Core 这个开发团队，它也对比特币的网络形成了实际的垄断，就在当时形成了一个双寡头博弈的局面，就普通矿工当时是很头疼的。
所以这个扩容之争到最后就并不是说普通的矿工和这些所谓的开发者之间的一个争斗，更多就变成了像比特大陆和
Blockstream 这2个公司之间的斗争。
You have 2 ecosystems essentially, one in China that is Chinese language speaking, and one is in the US is English language speaking. I was in the middle of all that.
关于这场扩容之争，一些亲历了共识会议现场的人给了我不一样的解读。比如我在香港见到的 Circle 主管亚洲交易的 Jack Liu 和中国圈内的区块链行业倡导者火星人。
I did not go there as a translator, but you can just see at the time the nuance of what people were saying were very fine that I tried to definitely help in and contribute to that conversation and translate. Yeah.
很早期的很多矿工，就说实话，就真的不懂英文，所以聊起来的时候，经常就是好像鸡同鸭讲，说到最后，大家其实关注的问题都不太一样。
I think it took a long time. A lot is cultural differences, language. That had a lot to do with it.
从最早的技术的争议，最后上升到了意识形态的争议，最后再上升到了就2个文化之间的差异，变成了到底是美国人说了算还是中国人说了算？因为美国人在写代码，而中国人在挖矿。
It seems silly because you think of it like some grand technology problem, but ultimately it's a social issue. And I think the fork happened precisely as a result of that disagreement.
So I sent $1 to the Bitcoin Cash address on there because they use the same. When you make something slow, expensive, and unreliable, people are going to seek out alternatives. Do slides to send here.
Yeah. Or just include. We should just cash.
And notice the fee is $0.00 to send $1,000. So I'm sending $1,000 for less than a penny. We'll hit confirm. Creating the transaction. Payment sent.
那么在之前呢，我对比特币未来设想呢，是它的应用越来越普及，链上的交易呢越来越多，那么它的这种货币属性呢就越来越强，那么当然它的市值肯定会膨胀的越来越大，它的这个波动性呢就会降低，它就会愈发的比较适合作为一种货币来使用。
We have lots of people emailing us at Bitcoin.com saying that they're using Bitcoin Cash for all sorts of things now because it works the exact same way Bitcoin did for the first 6 years of Bitcoin's existence.
Bitcoin Cash is like the fourth. So there's been many attempts to do a hard fork and to bypass the process. The first was Bitcoin XT, then you had Bitcoin Classic, then you had Bitcoin Unlimited, then Bitcoin Cash.
比特币现金开了头之后，比特币的分叉币层出不穷的出现。
既然大家都不遵守这个规则以后，人人都可以分叉。一个新的东西出来，它一定要解决行业的一些痛点，支付这一块啊，因为比特币它的这个原来的设计理念叫点对点的现金系统，但是现在我们好像，大家都看到，就是好像目前已经偏离了这个原来的这个方向。
我觉得这种分叉应该是自由的，对吧？就是因为它代表着一小群这种社区，他们愿意自己结合在一起去，创造一个自己的这种货币，但是。这样的行动有没有意义呢？ 我们是应该要去审视一下的。其实 Bitcoin Cash 诞生之后呢，它能够构建自己庞大社区的这么一个基础。而我们知道其他的那些好的分叉币呢，它是处在一个什么状态呢？分叉之后，既没有人爱它，也没有人恨它，也许很好，也许很坏，但是没有太多人 care。
Will Bitcoin be a dominant player a year from now? Probably not. So today we are at 40%.
Yeah, right.
39% today. Last year it was about 70%.
Wow.
So already from 70% we've gone down to 39%. By the end of 2018, Bitcoin will have a 20% market share. And by the end of 2019, I don't even think that Bitcoin will be the biggest cryptocurrency.
根据 CoinMarketCap 的数据，比特币的市场占有率在17年出现大幅下降，到18年1月，最低时只有约32%。不少人质疑，比特币数字货币老大的地位将被动摇。但2018年，比特币的市场占有率开始逐渐回升，到8月重新回到了市场份额50%以上。比特币的信徒们一直没有放弃，在升级的问题上没有停止过技术上的突破。
I think we've seen several upgrades to the Bitcoin system, and I think we've seen an off-chain protocol which they call Lightning, which is an off-chain protocol.
Lightning, you can think of it as cash.
But it's not a hard fork.
It's built on top. It's cryptographically linked. So you open a Lightning channel with Bitcoin, you lock it up on the main chain, and you have access to it on Lightning, sort of like a side chain, right? The principle of Lightning is that not everything has to be written on the main chain because that is expensive. If I do business with you, we can send each other Bitcoin all day long. If we're writing it to the main chain, we're going to be paying fees to the miners to write it into the chain. And that chain is broadcast to everybody, and it costs a lot of electricity to generate a block. But at the end of the day, if we're just sending Bitcoin back and forth over Lightning, it doesn't need to write to the main chain until we decide to stop doing business, and then we settle on the chain.
这个其实就是涉及到，早前在扩容的时候呢，有2条路线图，一条呢我们应该走链上扩容，一条呢走，链外扩容，就是要做这个 second layer。我其实是一个非常现实主义的人，我会认为客户的需求、用户的需求才是最为重要的。用户希望要有非常便宜的这种支付的费用，我们就应该现在要满足它，就应该链上扩容技术最成熟，我们就应该提供。那么其实做多层次扩容这种技术本身是不成熟的那么我相信链上扩容本身有很大的空间，本身就已经能够去支撑起这种 Visa 级别的这样的支付网络这种运行。但如果说也许整个网络它未来的想要支付的这种场景更大，对吧？那我们需要考虑更多的技术可能性的时候呢，在这个过程当中，我们有充分的时间再去开发这种链外的技术。
所以你是不反对的 Lightning 啊，像这样的一些？
不反对。其实我跟 Lightning 的作者个人也是非常好的朋友，他个人也是非常聪明的人。另外，如果说我们真正去读 Lightning 有关的这些技术的这些文档，对它产生理解的话，我们知道 Lightning Network 它本身它需要大区块去配合它的工作，但这些呢都是在整个常年的这种辩论当中，我觉得已经非常政治化的辩论当中，具备刻意隐瞒掉的东西。
Do you think Bitcoin changed your life?
Without any doubt, Bitcoin has already changed lots of people's lives all over the world.
What do you think about Satoshi?
I think the entire world owes a great debt of gratitude to Satoshi Nakamoto. He invented one of the most important inventions in the entire history of humankind.
对于这个世界，比特币是前所未有的。他倡导民主和透明，从一开始就意味着不会有完美的共识。在比特币发展过程中的分歧，最终还是人与人的利益冲突。比特币带来了不可思议的财富暴增，让它背后的人性问题跟随被放大。但随着人们对比特币的探索更加深入，我们发现只关注比特币的价值是不足够的。中本聪为这个世界实现了的，绝不单纯只是一种数字货币。
Thank you.
In 1994, I wrote The Digital Economy, and that book was the first bestseller about the web. Well, if that's what happened in the last 20 years, what will the next 20 bring?
The reason that Bitcoin worked, and worked so well, was because of the underlying technology.
I started getting letters from people. They'd say, "Are you Satoshi?" You know, this Morristown train station is